Good morning. Welcome. West Tennessee Dave here. It is 6:33 Central Time and we are live on Twitch and coming to you later on YouTube. Hi. Welcome. It is good to see you this morning. It is good to be back to our normal routine. All right. Let's get started. What are we reading today? All right, we are finishing the book of Genesis today. We're going to pick up where we left off in Genesis 46 and read through the end of the first book of the Bible. And we're finishing the story of both Jacob and Joseph and clan today. And just as a quick reminder, Joseph revealed himself to his brothers, and they had a nice little reunion. They're going back now again to the land of Canaan where they are all living to get Jacob and bring him to Egypt because Joseph has told them that they're only a couple years into this famine and it's going to get worse for quite a while. So why not move closer, be closer, let me take care of you, basically. And that's where we pick up the story. All right. Genesis 46. Starting somewhere in the middle here. The total number of Jacob's descendants who went with him to Egypt, not counting his sons' wives, was 66. In addition, Joseph had two sons who were born in Egypt. So altogether, there were 70 members of Jacob's family in the land of Egypt. As they neared their destination, Jacob sent Judah ahead to meet Joseph and get directions to the region of Goshen. And when they finally arrived there, Joseph prepared his chariot and traveled to Goshen to meet his father Jacob. When Joseph arrived, he embraced his father and wept, holding him for a long time. Finally, Jacob said to Joseph, "Now I am ready to die, since I have seen your face again and know you are still alive." And Joseph said to his brothers and his father's entire family, "I will go to Pharaoh and tell him, 'My brothers and my father's entire family have come to me from the land of Canaan. These men are shepherds, and they raise livestock. They have brought with them their flocks and herds and everything they own.' Then he said, 'When Pharaoh calls for you and asks you about your occupation, you must tell him, we, your servants, have raised livestock all our lives, as our ancestors have always done. When you tell him this, he will let you live here in the region of Goshen, for the Egyptians despise shepherds.' Then Joseph went to see Pharaoh and told him, 'My father and my brothers have arrived from the land of Canaan. They have come with all their flocks and herds and possessions, and they are now in the region of Goshen.' Joseph took 5 of his brothers with him and presented them to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh asked the brothers, 'What is your occupation?' They replied, 'We, your servants, are shepherds, just like our ancestors. We have come to live here in Egypt for a while, for there is no pasture for our flocks in Canaan. The famine is very severe there. So please, we request permission to live in the region of Goshen.' Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, 'Now that your father and brothers have joined you here, choose any place in the entire land of Egypt and for them to live. Give them the best land of Egypt. Let them live in the region of Goshen. And if any of them have special skills, put them in charge of my livestock too.' Then Joseph brought his father Jacob and presented him to Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. 'How old are you?' Pharaoh asked him. Jacob replied, 'I have traveled this earth for 130 hard years, but my life has been short compared to the lives of my ancestors.' Then Jacob blessed Pharaoh again before leaving his court. So Joseph assigned the best land of Egypt, the region of Ramses, to his father and his brothers, and he settled them there, just as Pharaoh had commanded. And Joseph provided food for his father and his brothers in amounts appropriate to the number of their dependents, including the smallest children. Meanwhile, the famine became so severe that all the food was used up, and people were starving throughout the lands of Egypt and Canaan. By selling grain to the people, Joseph eventually collected all the money in Egypt and Canaan, and he put the money in Pharaoh's treasury. When the people of Egypt and Canaan ran out of money, all the Egyptians came to Joseph. "Our money is gone," they cried, "but please give us food, or we will die before your very eyes." Joseph replied, "Since your money is gone, bring me your livestock. I will give you food in exchange for your livestock." So they brought their livestock to Joseph in exchange for food. In exchange for their horses, flocks of sheep and goats, herds of cattle and donkeys, Joseph provided them with food for another year. But that year ended, and the next year they came again and said, "We cannot hide the truth from you, my lord. Our money is gone, and all our livestock and cattle are yours. We have nothing left to give but our bodies and our land. Why should we die before your very eyes? Buy us and our land in exchange for food. We offer our land and ourselves as slaves for Pharaoh. Just give us grain so we may live and not die, and so the land does not become empty and desolate." So Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. All the Egyptians sold him their fields because the famine was so severe, and soon all the land belonged to Pharaoh. As for the people, he made them all slaves, from one end of Egypt to the other. The only land he did not buy was the land belonging to the priest. They received an allotment of food directly from Pharaoh, so they didn't need to sell their land. Then Joseph said to the people, "Look, today I have bought you and your land for Pharaoh. I will provide you with seed so you can plant the fields. Then, when you harvest it, 1/5 of your crop will belong to Pharaoh. You may keep the remaining 4/5 as seed for your fields and as food for you, your households, and your little ones." "You have saved our lives," they exclaimed. "May it please you, my lord, to let us be Pharaoh's servants." Joseph then issued a decree still in effect in the land of Egypt, that Pharaoh should receive 1/5 of all the crops grown on his land. Only the land belonging to the priests was not given to Pharaoh. Meanwhile, the people of Israel settled in the region of Goshen in Egypt. There they acquired property, and they were fruitful, and their population grew rapidly. Jacob lived for 17 years after his arrival in Egypt. So he lived 147 years in all. As the time of his death drew near, Jacob called for his son Joseph and said to him, "Please do me this favor. Put your hand under my thigh and swear that you will treat me with unfailing love by honoring this last request. Do not bury me in Egypt. When I die, please take my body out of Egypt and bury me with my ancestors." So Joseph promised, "I will do as you ask." "Swear that you will do it," Jacob insisted. So Joseph gave his oath, and Jacob bowed humbly at the head of his bed. One day, not long after this, word came to Joseph, "Your father is failing rapidly." So Joseph went to visit his father, and he took with him his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. When Joseph arrived, Jacob was told, "Your son Joseph has come to see you." So Jacob gathered his strength and sat up in his bed. Jacob said to Joseph, "God Almighty appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan and blessed me. He said to me, 'I will make you fruitful, and I will multiply your descendants. I will make you a multitude of nations, and I will give this land of Canaan to your descendants after you as an everlasting possession.' Now, I am claiming as my own sons these 2 boys of yours, Ephraim and Manasseh, who were born here in the land of Egypt before I arrived. They will be my sons, just as Reuben and Simeon are. But any children born to you in the future will be your own, and they will inherit the land within the territories of their brothers Ephraim and Manasseh." Long ago, as I was returning from Paddan Aram, Rachel died in the land of Canaan. We were still on the way, some distance from Ephrathah, that is, Bethlehem. So, with great sorrow, I buried her there beside the road to Ephrathah. Then Jacob looked over at the 2 boys. "Are these your sons?" he asked. "Yes," Joseph told him. These are the sons God has given me here in Egypt." And Jacob said, "Bring them closer to me so I can bless them." Jacob was half blind because of his age and could hardly see. So Joseph brought the boys close to him, and Jacob kissed and embraced them. Then Jacob said to Joseph, "I never thought I would see your face again, but now God has let me see your children too." Joseph moved the boys who were at their grandfather's knees, and he bowed with his face to the ground. Then he positioned the boys in front of Jacob. With his right hand, he directed Ephraim towards Jacob's left hand, and with his left hand, he put Manasseh at Jacob's right hand. But Jacob crossed his arms as he reached out to lay his hands on the boys' heads. He put his right hand on the head of Ephraim, though he was the younger boy, and his left hand on the head of Manasseh, though he was the firstborn. Then he blessed Joseph and said, "May the God before whom my grandfather Abraham and my father Isaac walked, the God who has been my shepherd all my life to this very day, the angel who has redeemed me from all harm, may he bless these boys. May they preserve my name in the names of Abraham and Isaac, and may their descendants multiply greatly throughout the earth." But Joseph was upset when he saw that his father placed his right hand on Ephraim's head. So Joseph lifted it to move it from Ephraim's head to Manasseh's head. "No, my father," he said. "This one is the firstborn. Put your right hand on his head." But his father refused. "I know, my son. I know," he replied. "Manasseh will also become a great people, but his younger brother will become even greater, and his descendants will become a multitude of nations." So Jacob blessed the boys that day with this blessing: "The people of Israel will use your names when they give a blessing. They will say, 'May God make you as prosperous as Ephraim and Manasseh.'" In this way, Jacob put Ephraim ahead of Manasseh. Then Jacob said to Joseph, "Look, I am about to die, but God will be with you and will take you back to Canaan, the land of your ancestors. And beyond what I have given your brothers, I am giving you an extra portion of land that I took from the Amorites with my sword and bow." Then Jacob called together all his sons and said, "Gather around me, and I will tell you what will happen to each of you in the days to come. Come and listen, you sons of Jacob. Listen to Israel, your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my strength, the child of my vigorous youth. You are first in rank and first in power. But you are as unruly as a flood, and you will be first no longer. For you went to bed with my wife. You defiled my marriage couch. Simeon and Levi are two of a kind. Their weapons are instruments of violence. May I never join in their meetings. May I never be a party to their plans. For in their anger they murdered men, and they crippled oxen just for sport. A curse on their anger, for it is fierce. A curse on their wrath, for it is cruel. I will scatter them among the descendants of Jacob. I will disperse them throughout Israel. Judah, your brothers will praise you. You will grasp your enemies by the neck. All your relatives will bow before you. Judah, my son, is a young lion that has finished eating its prey. Like a lion, he crouches and lies down. Like a lioness, who dares to rouse him? The scepter will not depart from Judah, not the ruler's staff from his descendants, until the coming of the one to whom it belongs, the one whom all nations will honor. He ties his foal to a grapevine, the colt of his donkey to a choice vine. He washes his clothes in wine, his robes in the blood of grapes. His eyes are darker than wine, and his teeth are whiter than milk. Zebulun will settle by the seashore and will be a harbor for ships. His borders will extend to Sidon. Issachar is a sturdy donkey, resting between two saddle packs. When he sees how good the countryside is and how pleasant the land, He will bend his shoulder to the load and submit himself to hard labor. Dan will govern his people like any other tribe in Israel. Dan will be a snake beside the road, a poisonous viper along the path that bites the horse's hooves, so its rider is thrown off. I trust in you for salvation, O Lord. Gad will be attacked by marauding bands, but he will attack them when they retreat. Asher will dine on rich foods and produce food fit for kings. Naphtali is a doe set free that bears beautiful fawns. Joseph is the foal of a wild donkey, the foal of a wild donkey at a spring, one of the wild donkeys on the ridge. Archers attacked him savagely. They shot at him and harassed him, but his bow remained taut, and his arms were strengthened by the hands of the mighty one of Jacob, by the shepherd, the rock of Israel. May the God of your father help you. May the Almighty bless you with the blessings of heavens above and the blessings of the watery depths below, and the blessing of the breast and womb. May my fatherly blessings on you surpass the blessings of my ancestors, reaching to the heights of the eternal hills. May these blessings rest on the head of Joseph, who is a prince among his brothers. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf, devouring his enemies in the morning and dividing his plunder in the evening. These are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is what their father said as he told his sons goodbye. He blessed each one with an appropriate message. Then Jacob instructed them, "Soon I will die and join my ancestors. Bury me with my father and grandfather in the cave in the field of Ephron the Hittite. This is the cave in the field of Machpelah, near Mamre in Canaan, that Abraham bought from Ephron the Hittite as a permanent burial site. There Abraham and his wife Sarah are buried. There Isaac and his wife Rebekah are buried. And there I buried Leah. It is the plot of land in the cave that my grandfather Abraham bought from the Hittites." When Jacob had finished this charge to his sons, he drew his feet into his bed, breathed his last, and joined his ancestors in death. Joseph threw himself on his father and wept over him and kissed him. Then Joseph told the physicians who served him to embalm his father's body. So Jacob was embalmed. The embalming process took the usual 40 days, and the Egyptians mourned his death for 70 days. When the period of mourning was over, Joseph approached Pharaoh's advisors and said, "Please do me this favor and speak to Pharaoh on my behalf. Tell him that my father made me swear an oath. He said to me, 'Listen, I am about to die. Take my body back to the land of Canaan and bury me in the tomb I prepared for myself. So please allow me to go and bury my father. After his burial, I will return without delay.'" Pharaoh agreed to Joseph's request. "Go and bury your father, as he made you promise," he said. So Joseph went up to bury his father. He was accompanied by all of Pharaoh's officials, all the senior members of Pharaoh's household, and all the senior officers of Egypt. Joseph also took his entire household and his brothers and their households, but they left their little children and flocks and herds in the land of Goshen. A great number of chariots and charioteers accompanied Joseph. When they arrived at the threshing floor of Atad near the Jordan River, they held a very great and solemn memorial service, with a 7-day period of mourning for Joseph's father. The local residents, the Canaanites, watched them mourning at the threshing floor of Atad. Then they renamed the place, which is near the Jordan, Abel Mizraim, where they said, "This is the place of deep mourning for these Egyptians." So Jacob's sons did as he commanded them. They carried his body to the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave in the field of Machpelah near Mamre. This is the cave that Abraham had bought as a permanent burial site from Ephron the Hittite. After burying Jacob, Joseph returned to Egypt with his brothers and all who had accompanied him to his father's burial. But now that their father was dead, Joseph's brothers became fearful. Now Joseph will show his anger and pay us back for all the wrong we did to him, they said. So they sent this message to Joseph. Before your father died, he instructed us to say to you, please forgive your brothers for the great wrong they did to you, for their sin in treating you so cruelly. So we, the servants of the God of your father, beg you to forgive our sin. When Joseph received the message, he broke down and wept. Then his brothers came and threw themselves down before Joseph. Look, we are your slaves, they said. But Joseph replied, don't be afraid of me. Am I God that I can punish you? You intended to harm me, but God intended it all for good. He brought me to this position so I could save the lives of many people. No, don't be afraid. I will continue to take care of you and your children. So he reassured them by speaking kindly to them. So Joseph and his brothers and their families continued to live in Egypt. Joseph lived to the age of 110. He lived to see 3 generations of descendants of his son Ephraim, and lived to see the birth of the children of Manasseh's son Machir, whom he claimed as his own. Soon I will die, Joseph told his brothers, but God will surely come to help you and lead you out of this land of Egypt. He will bring you back to the land he solemnly promised to give to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Then Joseph made the sons of Israel swear an oath, and he said, when God comes to help you and lead you back, you must take my bones with you. So Joseph died at the age of 110. The Egyptians embalmed him, and his body was placed in a coffin in Egypt. Okay. We have finished the story of Jacob, and we have finished the story of Joseph, and we have finished the first book of the Bible with 2 deaths there, natural deaths, which is good. It's good to see natural deaths. Thank you for being here and hanging out with me as we have started this story journey. One trick I learned from the trader's celebrity: quote someone who recently died and can't corroborate the story. Okay. I mean, they can't say it's true or false, right? All right, so we had all the drama in the past readings of the brothers and whatnot. There was a lot less drama in the finishing here of the story. Jacob comes and meets Joseph. They're pretty happy about the reunion, and they basically settle in the land of Egypt because the famine is going to last longer. And then the question really is, they stay in the land of Egypt for quite a while, right? So it says that Jacob lived 17 years in the land of Egypt. So they came in about year 2, I think, of the famine. So they were there for 5 more years. I don't know why they didn't go back. I guess, maybe Jacob just wanted to be around Joseph. He really loved Joseph. I'm not sure they really had a permanent residence in Canaan, right? They took all their belongings. Maybe they had acquired even more during the time frame. More sheep and herds. Maybe it was good pasture land that they were in. They had the best land, the land of Goshen, but they didn't go back. And there's this promise that we see here towards the end of Jacob's life, and we see it towards the end of Joseph's life that they are going to return. So the question is, why? Why didn't they return? I get Joseph kind of is second in charge of all of Egypt. I doubt that he wants to give up the position of power, and maybe just kind of become accustomed to it. But once the kind of 14 years of everything is over and a couple years in, when everything gets back to normal, I guess he could leave. But they choose to stay, and doesn't really say why or why not. They stay. Obviously, he still has a very important role in Egypt as they embalm him, basically wrap him up like a mummy, like they would do back in the days in Egypt. And that's what happens to Joseph here at the end. So just questions, sometimes you have more questions than answers. I don't actually know. Just why didn't they go back? If once you move to a new location and you get used to it, sometimes that becomes your home. But there's just this hint of wanting to go back to their homeland. There's this hint of wanting to go back, and they don't go back for whatever reason. Now, this was also predicted back in the day that they were going to stay here. So maybe you leave it at that. I find this story of Jacob uh, giving this blessing, if you will, to his sons, or this like uh prediction. It said the prediction of the future. Let me tell you what's going to happen to you in the future. I mean, it's poetry. Obviously, it's translated into English, so how that all plays out, I'm not really sure. I mean, there's some weird phrases in there. Some sound more like blessings. Some sound more like uh, calling out what transpired, if you will. But I love the how the brothers react after dad is gone. Right, dad Jacob glues them all together. Right, parents glue kids together, and I'm starting to see that in my own family, and definitely in my uh, in-law side of the family, because my mother-in-law, she has only a few months to live. Like, to see families come together in troubling times, and when somebody is sick or getting towards the end, it's very natural for families to do that. Question is what happens afterwards? And you see this kind of peace between the brothers with Joseph while Jacob's alive. But Jacob's died, and then they start to revert back to thinking, oh, we still did him wrong. Was he just being nice to us because dad was still around? What happens now? And you see this across the spectrum of life, especially in America where I live, of people just having very difficult situations with family members after parents die, especially if inheritances are involved. And there are inheritances involved in what Jacob is doing here with blessing certain people and saying, hey, you're more important than the other one. There's things that are happening here. And I think the reason that it actually works out pretty decently is because they stay in Egypt. If they were going to go back to the land and get inheritance, and again, how do you break up the land when you don't really own it yet? Be kind of hard to to give out the portions of inheritance that they would normally do. So, with that said, the brothers are like, dude, dad's gone. Forgive us. Right? They just want to be on Joseph's good side. He's super powerful in the land of Egypt. He could basically just kill them. They're living there under his kind of protection and authority and being fed. And he's like, I got you guys. Relax. Relax. He's not mad anymore. He sees the bigger picture. And all the rest of them don't really see the bigger picture. I think that's just so common for most of us. Some of us have a bigger picture, a bigger vision than just our own lives and safety. We realize that we're in charge of something. We're in charge of a group of people, and they take that responsibility seriously. They take their leadership seriously, and they do. You have to forgive, like, when difficult things happen to you and you're in leadership, because difficult things are always they happen to all of us. Nobody's immune to it. But even more so, it happens when you are in a position of leadership and in charge of people. Tough things are going to happen. And Joseph shows us a great example of how to navigate that. And his brothers show us a very human side of it, trying to make peace, if you will. Making peace. Making peace with those that you've done wrong is a big part of it. And I wish it would have said something more like they asked for forgiveness versus, hey, dad said to do it, right? Like, I think that's what Mo was basically saying, like, hey, quote somebody who can't corroborate the story, right? Dad said it, you got to do what dad said, right? Well, I don't know. But it is good to forgive. Forgiving others who have done us wrong is a huge part of the story of life. And we see Joseph do this for people that were so close to him that human trafficked him into slavery. We see him forgive and take care of and move on. And that is super powerful. And I hope we can do things similar. I hope I can do things similar. People have done things wrong to me at times, and it's good to forgive, and it's good to find a way back to relationship, if at all possible. Okay, I'm done talking. I've said enough today. A good place to finish. Thank you guys for being here. If you guys have any other thoughts, comments. Well, I know it's early. I know you guys might be tired. Maybe you're getting ready for bed. Maybe you're just waking up. But I appreciate all of you that come and say hello, participate, both in the live time during this Twitch stream, and for those of you that are coming later, watching it on a VOD and or watching it on YouTube, thank you for being here as well. I appreciate all of you. As I started at the beginning with this it's just good for me to read and reflect. And, I want to be accountable to doing this throughout the year. And I want to do it in community because I like community. So I really appreciate those who take the time, make some comments, So I appreciate you guys all. To be honest, it is a little bit easier to forgive today. I'd love to hear more about that. Why today it's easier versus the past. And Matt, hi, good to see you. It says interesting the brothers may be jealousy. Interesting that the brothers may be jealous when he put his hands on the head. So you're talking about um, when Jacob puts his hands on the heads of Ephraim and Manasseh, and he kind of switches it up, right? The jealousy. Right. I mean, even Joseph, who has seen these great visions um, and been given the interpretation of these dreams and has the vision and understanding that the people are eventually going to leave the land of Egypt, when his own sons get reverse blessing, he doesn't like it, right? He's the oldest of two kids, and he thinks the older one should get what's naturally coming. But Joseph is not the oldest brother in the line of the 12 brothers. He's nowhere close. Um, Reuben is the oldest, the firstborn. But then you hear this story of how dad's like, well, you slept with my wife, which is a little bit awkward. You shouldn't sleep with your, I mean, he has multiple wives, so it's like a stepmom almost, right? If you might think of it that way. Hmm. Yeah, so he kind of blesses, and kind of the blessing, there was a great blessing for Joseph in Jacob's thing, and there was a great blessing for Judah, right? Judah became kind of the one that got the best blessing of all, it seemed like, in the final words of Jacob. And Jacob also blessed the younger one, right? But Jacob was the younger one as well, right? His brother Esau was the oldest. So there's this kind of theme running through. And then you had Ishmael and Isaac. Ishmael was older, but Isaac was the one born from the more favorable, the original wife, if you will, the OG. So he got the blessing. You just see this uh, continuation of the story of fathers picking somebody, kind of picking the next in line, maybe differently than just tradition of the times would have done. And I think there's a lesson in there. We're going to see that continue on. And yeah, does it raise jealousy? For sure. Man, we have seen what jealousy does. We have seen some of the absolute ridiculousness of people's choices because of jealousy. Right? You have an older brother. I'm the oldest. I'll say something about that just for my own life, right? I'm the oldest of 7 siblings. But then there was kind of one that kind of like adopted in, if you will, to our family, not officially, but unofficially. And she was older than me. Um, and she became basically a sibling. And then she kind of also can be considered, I mean, obviously in age, she is older than me. Um, and I think that this is just personal. This is really personal to my own family. As the oldest, I see her. I mean, I love her. She's like my sister, and we kind of treat her like a sister. Um, but I think I have the most interesting dynamic relationship with her in that there is this kind of like she kind of is taking the oldest away from me concept, if that even exists. Whereas all the other siblings, I think, don't see her as a threat in that way. And not that I see her as a threat. It's just, um, it's a very weird. It's a just different dynamic, right? And that takes more intentionality on my part to not feel jealous, not feel slighted. Like my parents can love whoever they want. They get to choose. If they want to adopt 50 kids, they can. That's their choice. And if they want to adopt people older or younger than me, like younger than my youngest, then my youngest doesn't maybe get to be the baby, if you will, of bloodline things. And it's not always just pure bloodline, right? Families are kind of unique in this day and age. But yeah, so those are great points. Like family dynamics are very strange. Hearing stories of forgiveness first thing helps me be more forgiving. Hmm. It's just such a great reminder. Such a great reminder to be forgiving, to forgive others. Yeah, and just taking that to your poker games just as well, right? To hold on to things, to be mad at a person for how they played their cards or whatever. I mean, we could be mad at a run out and then we're like mad at a site or something like that, and it's like, what, what good does it do us, right? What, like we're just entitled to always win. We're entitled to the blessing of the firstborn, or it it takes that takes a lot of maturity to come to that place. It takes a lot of introspection of self to say, I'm not going to be jealous of that person that keeps getting there on the river against me. Uh, you know, good for them. Congratulations. Congratulations. There is some luck in the game. There's some opportunities. Sometimes they go our way, sometimes they don't. But we're gonna let it. We're gonna let those things be. Let that not hold us back from proceeding to move forward and do the right thing, as we see Joseph doing here. We see Joseph doing it. So he's our inspiration at the end of the first book here. We had a number of people do the right thing, and we've had a number of people do some less than desirable things because of jealousy and unforgiveness. So let's take the high road. That's the reminder we need. So, okay, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for your comments as well. Like I said, this is great. I really appreciate y'all being here. Great to see you all. I will be back. What's today? Today's Thursday, so I'll be back Sunday. Sunday morning. I am thinking about changing the time, but I mentioned it in the one of the discords the other day of the group, and they're like, "Yeah, you should do it. You should move it back." But I don't know. I don't know if they'll actually come if it's later in the day or not. So I think I'm going to stick right now. I'm just going to stick for a little bit longer. Um, with this time frame. I want to just try to do. I'm trying to do it for me to be good about waking up. And yeah, for right now, we're gonna stick with the storyline. We're gonna start the next book of the Bible, and the storylines from there in Exodus. We're gonna hang out with a group for a while. Yeah, it's a good start to anyone's morning to hear the stories from the Bible and reflect on them throughout the day, for sure. And everyone can watch the VOD, right? That really wants to come, and I hope they do. All right, so 6:33 Sunday morning is our next next Bible stream. Thank you for being here. Love you guys. I will see you guys on a stream soon. Take care. Have a great rest of your day and couple days until I see you again.